Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. This is Naveed Khan. I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm highly privileged to have with me Ambassador Munir Akram, who had the thing of serving as Pakistan's permanent representative to United Nations twice. He served from 2006 to 2008, and then in 2019 once again, the country felt that we needed someone to give us a better representation at the United Nations. So a request was made to Munir, who kindly accepted the thing. The contribution that Munir has made to the thing, and work toward different kind of thing. He's seen the Afghan war, whatever happened and all that during that time. He saw it. He's been a member of so many of these committees that worked on the peace. And today we shall have him talk about this present war. I call it Ramadan war because it started on the 11th of Ramadan when United States and Israel just attacked Iran. And there's been no stop to it. Every day people are dying. There is energy prices are shooting up. There is the millions and millions of people who are being displaced, and yet there doesn't seem to be an end. So at this time, what we need is someone like an expert like our friend Ambassador Munir Akram to talk to us and give us an idea what possibly can be happening and what is it like, what is the future, how will it end. All these things are there. So what I will say is that now, without wasting any time, I invite Ambassador Munir Akram to talk to you and give his views. Munir, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Naveed. First of all, thank you for having me on this vlog. You're an old friend, and I still remember the good old days in Karachi when we were young. We are obviously seeing the unfolding of a brutal and unprovoked war against Iran, a neighboring country of Pakistan. And the implications of this war, obviously, for not only for Pakistan, for the region and for the world, are extremely significant. The war, I believe, has been almost by Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, who has been launched on the project of creating a greater Israel. And he took the excuse of the October 7 attack by Hamas as the justification for launching what is a regional wide Israeli war, destroying not only Gaza, but also attacking almost every neighbor, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, as well as Iran. Netanyahu has been seeking a war on Iran for decades, and I think that is well known. But this was a golden opportunity for him because there was in Washington a president who he could manipulate, who he could convince that launching a war against Iran would earn him a place in history. And this was something that no other American president has dared to do. Previous American presidents obviously were also approached by Netanyahu, but were reluctant because they understood that a war of this magnitude against a country as large and significant as Iran would be hugely consequential for not only the region, but for the world as a whole. Even as Mr. Trump was being convinced to launch this war, some of his military advisors have reportedly told him that there could be grave consequences, that this would not be a clean operation like extricating President Maduro from Venezuela. Iran was a different kind of country, a different people of 5,000 years civilization, and they would not surrender as was anticipated. Nevertheless, President Trump, perhaps enjoying the hubris arising from the Venezuela operation and the accolades that he received from so many countries that he bullied, he launched this operation. The Iranian leadership was decapitated, and the anticipation in Washington was that they will then capitulate and accept American demands. But that obviously did not happen. They have now gone in for a second decapitation strikes, apparently killing Ali Lalajani and the head of the Basij militia. But yet, obviously, the Iranians are not going to give in. Iran's culture and its sort of nationalistic outlook should have been understood from the 10-year war that they fought with Iraq at the sacrifice of at least 3-4 million of their young men. And I think, therefore, there was a big miscalculation on the part of the US, if not Israel, that Iran will capitulate. It has not. The US and Israelis have indeed destroyed a large part of the defense capabilities of Iran. Their air defenses are gone, the air force is gone, naval vessels have been sunk, a lot of their missile capabilities have been attacked. But so far, it seems that Iran has retained sufficient missile and drone capability to be able to attack not only US and Israeli targets, but also some other regional countries that have come under fire, in particular the UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, and to some extent Saudi Arabia. Iran has also been able to block the Strait of Hormuz, and the consequence of that is the huge impact on oil prices. If 20% of the oil supplies of the world which come from the Gulf are not able to flow, there would be, and there is, an inevitable impact on oil prices. These have gone up, and they will go up with every day that the Hormuz is blocked. Oil prices will rise, and along with the oil prices, the ripple effect throughout the regional and global economies will happen. So there is now a dilemma for the US, if not for Israel, um, the US sees the economic impact expanding. This is having an impact on the gas station here. The price of petrol here, gas as they call it, has risen from average of $3 to $3.75, and which is huge for the ordinary American who relies on his car. Therefore, the US has to try to find a solution, either to stop the war and call it off, declare victory, and leave, which is also politically costly for Trump, or to find some way of opening up the Strait of Hormuz and get oil flowing again, while it continues to destroy Iranian capabilities which are left. I believe that Trump is now being pushed by Netanyahu and by some of the hawks within the administration, the pro-Israeli lobby, to go for a further escalation of the conflict, either in the form of somehow capturing the Strait of Hormuz and getting the tankers out, or capturing Iran's oil export capabilities, that is from the Kharg Island, which is supposed to export a large part of Iran's oil, to capture that as a leverage against the Iranians for having closed the Strait of Hormuz. It remains to be seen which option the US adopts. As far as Israel is concerned, Israel is quite happy to continue this war as long as possible, because on the one hand, it helps Mr. Netanyahu stay away from the lawsuits he's facing and from the political fallout, where he will have to have elections once the war ends, and may lose. And secondly, because Israel believes that if this war continues, and if the Arab countries of the Gulf can become involved in this on the Israeli side, the Muslim countries will destroy each other and diminish each other, and that the only power that will be left standing in the Middle East will be Israel. So Israel's objectives disregard all the global economic and other impacts. They want the war, or at least Netanyahu wants the war to continue. The regional countries of the Gulf, the Arab countries, have become involved in this conflict because they have American bases there. And according to the Iranians, these bases have been used to launch some of the attacks against Iran. And therefore, Iran has retaliated, has attacked some of these bases and facilities. But Iranian attacks have also extended to some other targets like hotels and airports and so forth, where it is not clear what the purpose of those attacks was, whether to intimidate the Arab countries of the Gulf or just as a matter of revenge. But the war has extended to the Arab countries, to the GCC countries, and it has changed the perception of the world about the GCC being a stable area where business and finance could be done. Especially Dubai has taken a big hit in reputational terms as well as in physical terms. Uh, um, where this war goes, obviously we'll have to wait to see what the American plan is, whether they will go for opening the Strait of Hormuz, whether they go for a invasion of boots on the ground on Kharg Island and capture the Iranian oil facilities. I think these are two most likely options, while they continue the bombardment of Iran and try and finish off the facilities. It is significant that the Americans have not attacked the Iranian oil facilities because, one, they do not want the Iranians to attack the oil facilities of the Arab countries of the Gulf. And secondly, because there is a plan that if the regime in Iran falls and there is a friendly regime installed subsequently, that in order to rebuild Iran, a friendly Iran, its oil facilities, its oil capabilities will be necessary to find the money for such reconstruction and for the West to control the oil production from Iran as they seek to control it in Venezuela and in other places. This is the global aspiration that Mr. Trump and company have. So this is how this situation is. The Iranians continue to fight. They seem to have still retain some missile and drone capabilities to continue to attack the region, to attack Israel, and to block the Strait of Hormuz. One will have to see which way it goes, but this is where we are at the moment. I'll stop here, Naveed.
Munir, what do you think? Eventually, do you think US would be able to open the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, obviously, while Iran continues to have the missile and drone capabilities, which it seems to have, while it retains these capabilities, it seems difficult for the US or anybody else to actually open the Strait of Hormuz against the will of the Iranians. So many countries now, led by India, have started to negotiate with the Iranians to release their tankers which are stuck in the Gulf. So the Indian tankers have gone out through negotiations. Chinese tankers have gone out, obviously also with the concurrence of the Iranians. And the Europeans apparently met yesterday in Brussels to consider what approach to adopt to get their tankers out of the Gulf. But be that as it may, down the line, we have to see if this war continues and if the sort of bombardment of Iran continues, will they retain the missile and drone capabilities? Can they retain it, and how long they can retain those missile and drone capabilities? Because once those are finished, then it may be possible for the US to put together a naval armada to exit some of the tankers, the oil tankers, out of the Gulf. But nevertheless, even if the Hormuz Strait is open, I don't expect that there will be huge tanker traffic going forward because the insurance rates apparently have risen by 600%, some say, and that most tanker operators, ship operators, are not willing to traverse the Strait of Hormuz, and this may continue even if the U.S. is able to open the strait. Just the risk factor may prevent the shipping to return to normal anytime in the near future.
Tell me another thing, like so much of the nationalistic thing in Iran has been witnessed, during the 10-year war with, Iraq as well. So, do you think it will be possible for them, the Americans, to get a government of their choice and then be able to do it? Do you think it will be that easy?
I don't think that they can get a change in the government through an aerial war. Uh, Change in governments can only happen if it's forcibly done, can only happen if you put boots on the ground, as they say, if there is an invasion, or if there is an internal civil war in which the regime gets changed. Um, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any uh, prospect of any civil war, even though the regime may have faced a lot of protests previously. But at this moment, with the external aggression, the Iranian nation seems to have come together, and there doesn't seem to be any major dissent that is visible, at least. So that won't happen. That's unlikely internally. Externally, there is talk about sort of boots on the ground or external interventions, fomenting the Kurds or the Azeris or the Khuzestan Arabs or the Baluchis. That is more likely. I think even if when the war stops, even if the U.S. walks away, the Israelis and U.S. agencies will continue the efforts to destabilize Iran through these minority areas. And I think the most likely prospect of such destabilization will happen in Balochistan, because I think they see that as a double whammy. It will destabilize Iran, of course. But it will also destabilize Pakistan, which is a secondary target of Israel, and we must remember that.
Another thing is, you remember the new Iranian leader. He told all the Arab countries to shut the American bases, send them away, and all that sort of a thing. Do you think that Saudi Arabia or any of these other Gulf countries would think of some kind of a alternate security arrangement, maybe something like a Muslim NATO or whatever? Or are they going to go more with the Americans and they're going to have create bigger bases and all that? So, what is your opinion on this?
You see, obviously, for the Arab countries of the GCC, this attack from on Iran and Iranian retaliation is a wake-up call, because it reveals to them that the American bases are not so much a sort of net security provider, and they are, net negative as far as their security is concerned, because they can be attacked by a hostile country to America. Uh, but at the same time, we should also remember that, the this talk about Muslim NATO or Muslim NATO replacing the American umbrella. I think that to quite a large extent is wishful thinking on the part of those of us who feel the sentiment that the Muslim world can provide for its own security. Why should the Arab countries go to America? But there is such a large dependence of these countries on the United States, in terms not only of security or direct security, but their economic dependence on the U.S., the market, their markets. U.S. Provides their financial connection the between the Gulf and the United States and Western Europe is intricate, is extensive, and I don't foresee a kind of early possibility of their changing this kind of a relationship with the West that they have. So I am a bit skeptical whether this sort of replacement of a NATO kind of a Muslim NATO can be created. What might happen is that after this war, there could be a larger footprint from the Russians and from China, and that could provide a possible new structure of security where not only America but also the Iranians are a part of the security umbrella for the region.
Well, you said it all. I mean, in fact, if you remember in Mr. Bhutto's time, when he was trying to put all these Muslim Islamic countries together, build up the Islamic bloc and all that, we did have some hope. But what we've seen in the last 40 or 50 years is that it's actually a hopeless case, just wishful thinking, as you said. There's nothing that happens really. But how do you think the Russian or the Chinese role could come in where the US role would reduce? The things like right now, if you look at it, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's any of these Arab countries and all that, I always say that all our bread and butter is there with the United States. If you want to send your children to education, you send them to the United States. You want to go for a holiday, you go either to Europe or something. So all these things have been there. And then when comes the investments and all that, people buying properties and so on. So Russia and China till now haven't opened that way that these Gulf countries would be interested in making investments over there. Although I personally think it would be an ideal thing. Look at the heavy investment even Apple has, or even Tesla has, the kind of investment in China. But somehow or other, what do you see the future of the Gulf countries after the war ends?
Well, I think that the Gulf countries, their economic relationship with China has been expanding, and it has been expanding quite substantially. And now China has the capacity to build this economic relationship with the Gulf countries and the wider Middle East as such, and they are intent on doing so. Because this is obviously a rich part of the world, and China is very actively seeking to develop its relationships. It probably will not be able to replace the United States for some time, but the Chinese belief is that the US is a declining power and China is a rising power. China's not only its military, but its economic influence is growing. It is the largest trading partner with almost 120 plus countries. And therefore, it is confident that they will be able to develop a much broader relationship with the Gulf. And maybe for the Gulf, this would be also the answer, is to build a counter balance to the United States by developing a intense relationship with China.
Okay, but what, what I get at the end is this war is not coming to an end soon, right? Is that correct, Munir?
I would imagine, I would imagine so, because on the one side, the U.S. can't show, can't declare a victory because they don't have anything to show as a victory in order to stop the war. And on the other side, the Iranians don't have a choice but to keep fighting, because if they call for a ceasefire, it will mean capitulation. So for them, this is now a war, um, war of existential war, and survival will be a victory for Iran, and that is what they're aiming for: is to continue to survive this incessant aerial attacks that they are suffering.
We have Air Vice Marshal Abid Rao with us. Let's see if he would like to ask some question. Abid Saab, would you unmute yourself and ask a question, anything that you'd like to ask Ambassador Munir Akram?
Sir, thank you very much, because my special compliments to the Ambassador Munir Akram sahab. I played cricket with him in 1989, and when he was our ambassador in Brussels under Javed Siddiqui. Sir, if you recall. So, sir, I will take you to another side of this war, that in case Israel's existence is threatened, do you think they would nuke Iran in totality, in partial kind of areas, or what is the chance of that? Because, I mean, ultimately they have that big stockpile of those nuclear weapons. And that would give another, dimension to this entire region, that so many other countries would also like to exercise that.
Right. No, Vice Marshal, I think the sort of premise that Israel's existence will be at stake in this war is, I think, not the right assumption, because Israel's existence is not at stake. They are the aggressor, and their objective is a greater Israel. They are trying to expand. There is no one at the moment is threatening the existence of Israel. They have put down every adversary around them. And Iran now, the only adversary that was left, is being totally demolished. So there is no threat to the Israelis, and therefore the idea of the Israelis sort of using the Samson option is not a probability. Such. In any case, even if it was the case, if there was a threat to the Israelis, I think the impediments to using nuclear weapons is so huge now that they would probably not exercise that option. I mean, you've seen a power like Russia in Ukraine. It has threatened the use of nuclear weapons, or at times indirectly threatened it, in order to try and deter the Europeans and Americans from coming into the Ukraine war in a more heavier way with the Ukrainians. But even at that time, the Chinese told the Russians, "Don't you dare do that." So I think that that the likelihood is not there for the use of nuclear weapons by Israel, certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Munir, it's been a great thing once again getting you together. Last time we talked about the solutions of the Kashmir. The Kashmir solution is still there. I think one of these days we're going to talk again about it. We can nothing else. We can talk about the solution. So here at the war, in today's session, at least we talked about the possibilities. What could happen? But the thing is that as you in US yourself, now how does an average man think about the war? Because is it, you know, affecting the polls of popularity of Trump, or are they just, not concerned about it? Because the polls in the US do matter, and with the midterm coming up, it would be something that Trump should be worrying about.
Yes. Well, the U.S. these days is a very divided country,
Yeah.
and they are divided not only, say, between Democrats and Republicans, which is a broad divide, but even within these groups, there are some who are sort of pro-Trump, pro an aggressive stance. Some of the Jewish Democrats are favor the war, but there are many others, uh, even within the Republican Party, who are opposed to the war. Within the Republican Party, it's the core sort of MAGA crowd also is divided, but the core supporters who support Trump blindly are with him. The evangelical Christians who believe that the Messiah will come after Israel occupies and then is destroyed, their belief, they're supportive. The Zionist lobby, the extreme through Jewish lobby or Israeli lobby is for the war, but there are Jews against the war. There are many progressive Jews who are against the war. So this society here is so deeply divided, and largely because of Trump and the ideology that he has advocated, the postures that he has adopted, is deeply divisive in this country. And he was joking the other day. It took it took me for the Democrats to love Khamenei. That's the kind of sort of joke that he made. But to some extent, it's true. Some people hate him so much that they will oppose anything he does, and some people are so committed with him that they will follow him blindly into various adventures.
Before we end on a lighter side, I just want to ask something. Munir, considering the scenario, you were the advisor to Emperor Donald Trump. What would you advise him? How can he end this war and still get out well?
Well, I think the easiest advice, I think the best advice that anybody could give him at this time is, cut your losses, end the war. You can just declare victory, walk away. You have achieved, you have destroyed the military might of Iran. And it is now time you declare victory and walk away, because if you don't, the implications will become more serious. It will be much more difficult when the oil prices have gone up to $200. That will not be a good time to walk away. Or if you invade, if you put boots on the ground, and you lose thousands of American soldiers, you certainly will not be very popular at that stage. So this is a good time to walk off.
I think Trump should take your advice and end the war. And on that note, what we'll do is we'll end the meeting over here. And thank you so much for being with us and enlightening us on this thing. And we will keep in touch and do
Thank you.
more of these things. Thank you, Munir. Thank you very much.